I'm ballin', I feel like Kaepernick. All my niggas better kneel for this. I know you're feeling it. Like when I caught my first felony. Welcome to the belly of the beast, where there ain't no in between. You either feast or cuisine. Ain't no being nice, you gotta be mean. Step on you twice before you stop to think. Won't even blink, can't even bat an eye. A new one comes just as soon as you die. What's the worth of life? This can't be right. Add, subtract, multiply, all I feel is divide. I know you're feeling me right. Kneel, then lift your head to the sky. Then, after that, ask why. Yup, you hear him answering right. The words I never said left you dead, let you down. 6 feet under the ground. What we gonna do now, huh? What we gonna do now? I'm ballin', I feel like Kaepernick. All my bitches better kneel for this. Get on your knees like you're sucking a dick. I kid, my wife told me to write that shit. So like a good husband, that's what I did. Ghost writing, like I'm ghost riding the whip. I pay my bills off of it, but when I make my own tracks, nobody's listening. Oh my God, is he bitching again? For so many years, I never did. Now I'm fed up with it. That ain't how my mama raised the kid. Why we treat women like second citizens, knowing damn well that they run this house shit. Let's get more minorities in our government, instead of the government crushing them. I'm ballin', I feel like Kaepernick. I think everybody should kneel to this. You're a prince and a king, a princess and a queen, filled with dreams and filled with hope. Let it flow down the stream that sparkles and gleams. Heard a pastor preach, it changed my life, cause that was the night I planned on suicide. Held my toes so tight, I put every bullet inside. I couldn't pull it, so just cried. There's gotta be more tomorrow. Why do I harbor so much sorrow? Who is love to borrow? Cause I already sold my soul. But the soul tape's free though, just so you know. Yeah, I feel your homes. I'm ballin', I feel like Kaepernick. All my niggas should kneel to this. I'm ballin', I feel like Kaepernick. All my bitches should kneel to this. I'm ballin', I feel like Kaepernick. Everybody should kneel for this, because I just can't stand for this. Yo, what the fuck is going on, y'all? Hey, it's Friday. We got mad vibes in the motherfucking building. We're chilling. We're having a good time. I got a great guest today. She is like so many things. Where do I even start? Let me begin. The most important thing, a mother, a podcaster, and weed connoisseur. What cooler collection of things to be is that? Coming straight out of Arizona, the host of the podcast, Kendra After motherfucking Dark. And we're doing it in the daytime because we ain't got nothing to hide. Here she is, Kendra.
Hey. How are you doing? Thank you so much for that intro. That was awesome.
Hey, yo, and it's funny. They always be like, yo, I loved your intro. and I never feel like I gave a good enough intro to them.
Nah, you're doing good, man.
So.
Starting off the show is like always the most nerve-wracking thing for me to do. So I feel like once you get past that, it's usually like way easier.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's tough being an empath because,
Yeah.
like, if the vibes ain't there, they ain't there, and if they are, they are. So, like, but good thing I believe in fate. So, the wind usually blows me into a lot of dope places.
Nice, for sure. Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm excited for sure to be on the show and, let you know a little bit about what I do and stuff. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
I like you talking about being an empath too, because I'm super into all that shit. Like,
oh,
I really feel that also.
yeah. Well, it's funny. I didn't believe I was an empath, like, because it was so natural for me to take on other people's energies. It just, like, it felt like my own. And then I had to consciously realize that no, I was completely ignoring how I felt.
And you don't even realize it, right? Because you're just like, this is
No.
how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, like, yeah. And so I really try now to take the time to care about myself in the course of being an empath. But
Definitely.
so let's get started. Since we were talking about the wind blowing us places and stuff like that.
Right? I know it's all windy out here today too. So
Hey. So I'm trying to think of where to start. Well, no, it's more so because it's like, okay, I know that I want to ask about the first time you ever got high.
Uh-huh.
I know stuff like that, but like, there's more to you than that.
Right? So you're like, so how does this happen?
Like, yeah, and I don't know the like smoothest path to be like, how did you end up who you are? Obviously, it seems like we'll get into. Actually, I know a great place to start because
Like,
this is a huge part of who you are. Kendra After Dark. What is the theme? You have a really dope explanation on your website, which I shall actually put down here, but explain about Kendra After Dark and what that means to you.
Yeah, well, so, I am a mom of two. I have two kids. I have a daughter that's about to be 9, and I have a daughter that's 6, almost 6. She's 5. Take it back. In November, I'm getting ahead of myself.
She
But,
smokes too much, y'all. She loves a kid. She just smokes too much.
How funny. But yeah, no. So it was really important to me, being a mom that smokes and use cannabis like frequently. I smoke every day. I have anxiety, I have PTSD, I deal with like another panic disorder, I have depression, like, a bunch of real normal shit that people go through that I, juggle with also. And it was in when my kid was in kindergarten, I really realized how important it is to make sure that you know what you're discussing with your kids, or what they know when it comes to cannabis, what is allowed and what's not, because it can get you in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's so obviously people were giving you a lot of flack for your lifestyle. And instead of backing away from it, you kind of dived head into it and took on. Did you understand how big of a fucking undertaking that would have
no.
been?
So, not at all, because when I started this podcast, I was just like, all right, this is going to be, I'm a mom that likes to smoke. I live here in Tucson, Arizona. Let's talk about real life shit, and let's talk about where I can go and get my weed to deal with this real life shit. And that's basically exactly where my mind frame was when I started. So, like, out the gate, basically, I built a really strong community here between Tucson and Phoenix. Like in Arizona, just like the marijuana community was pretty welcoming, like to the idea before I even launched the podcast, which helped a lot, you know. And I started really seeing how few mothers talk about or show that they get high at all.
They're
In fact,
shamed. They're
in
literally shamed into it. And it's tough even hearing you having to basically, people were trying to make you feel bad rather than acknowledge the medical ramifications of the marijuana and even how it helped you. They
yeah,
literally were trying to make you like
feel
a,
bad for
a
no
bad
reason.
a
Like,
bad mom for trying to be the best you that you can be.
yeah, and so like
What
I
up, Don Cannon? What the fuck is up, y'all? Yo, we get the viewer comments going on in this bitch. So tell me how you feel always. But
right?
respect
I
our guests.
definitely I don't know obviously like the exact percentages or anything, but I can tell you being involved in the canna community, how many people have a second social media, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, whatever, that is solely dedicated to weed that their family and friends are not on because they're worried about what the hell everybody else is going to think. And I was one of
Yeah.
those people. I definitely used to have Instagram that was just for all my weed because on my regular Instagram where I post my kids and shit, I also have family. So I was like, do I really want to mix that with each other? And then now I'm just like, why should I have to hide them? Like,
No,
you
well,
know what I mean?
bro, mothering in shame.
Yeah.
How pathetic is that to even like, and people don't even consider it doing that. But like, I'll tell you, like, weed and I like the fans of things ruin a lot of things for me
Mm-hmm.
personally. And so I almost don't want there to be medical uses for
Yeah.
marijuana because of the kind of people who like the shit and connect to it and the false advertising and the false information
True.
that gets talked about
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to weed and like all of the just weird policies that like go
There's
into
so
it.
much. There's so much shit that you have to worry about. I kind of circling back to where I was like, you can get in trouble for smoking weed and having kids. I have dealt with them because my kids know so much about cannabis. Like, and here I was coming from a point of I would rather my kids be educated and know what my medicine is. And then they're like, no, your kids shouldn't know about medicine. And that makes no sense to me at all because this is something that helps people that have cancer, who have all different kinds of diseases, pain, different things like that, being advertised as a medicine, yet I'm not supposed to tell my kid about the medicine I'm taking or explain it. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's so funny because like my brain is going so many different places with what the problem is because
Yeah.
it rolls into color, the bad rep of marijuana, and it also rolls into pharmaceuticals and them trying to keep their power over things. But also, even medication has a stigma. I remember, and now mind you, my mom is a doctor. The first time I was ever given Adderall, and I've never told anybody this, and we got so much to talk about. Because a platform like this is literally you get into this seat and you're listening to somebody talk and the power of the platform hits you like a ton of fucking bricks and it's
Yeah.
almost overwhelming. Um, but like um it got given to me on jelly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't ask any questions. Take this And so it's because A, they don't want you thinking that you have a problem.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just so many stigmas.
There's
Um,
there's so many. There's a stigma about everything. It's ridiculous, really, if you get down to
like
it.
if you don't smoke weed, there's a stigma to what type of person that you can be then.
Right.
And if you do, there's a stigma to what kind of person you are then. And it's like, I can't be Brandon who likes a plethora of things.
Yeah.
I end up being a pothead or a rapper type or and I can never just be a human trying to enjoy my life.
So obviously I'm a stoner now, but people thought I was a stoner long before I was ever a stoner. Like, you know what I mean?
They almost
Because
forced you into being, because it's
it's
like,
so
well, I
funny.
wasn't, but
Mhm.
like you're trying to label. I
Like,
am.
well, what the hell?
Yeah, I am whatever you say I am in a really deep way. But like so many people would have backed down
Yeah.
from what
It's
you're doing.
it's humbling though, the people that come out and write and be like, yeah, dude, I totally hide my use from everyone. I don't talk about smoking weed with my friends, nothing. I've known people that like don't talk about it within a relationship because they're worried about how they're going to be, viewed or looked at for using cannabis or being a stoner, smoking some pot, like whatever you say, it's all the same shit. And people don't realize that too, because there's a huge, you talked about like patients and the medical side of it. There's
Mhm.
definitely people that take pot medically, but will still give people shit about smoking weed. And it's like, it's the same thing, man. We're doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, and even why you call your show After Dark is to bring to light the
Hmm.
shit that we hide. And
Yeah.
like, no, it's crazy because like and having you on here is so important to me. Bro, it's all like fate in the craziest ways. Like just well for this. The things that people did in the dark, I just assumed that they didn't do because I lived with my heart on my sleeve.
Right.
And it isolated me and it made me feel lonely when I shouldn't have.
Mhm.
So even what you're doing, like, is attacking loneliness, but so many people want to be lonely. I'll admit there was a
I know.
huge part of me that wanted to be the only one with these weird ideas and beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think it's like I think you want to be as lonely just as much as you want like people to be with you or to be with someone because it really it breaks it down like, you know, I want to talk about the hardship people go through because cool, I smoke pot and shit, but that doesn't mean I don't go through things. And I've had people on the show who don't smoke pot and are able to relate in like, you know, things like heartbreaks or relationships and, you know, different ways that people come together, whether it's other parents I talk to, people, you know, singers, all different types of people can relate in so many different ways. And it's like, you don't realize because most people are just doing a 9 to 5 every day. You see them at work. You
Well,
see them going.
and
Hmm.
hiding.
Exactly.
It's more than just a 9 to 5. They're hiding. And we're also trained that like being yourself is the worst thing that you can be.
I know it's a contradiction because it's out there and people say be you, be yourself. But then at the same time they're like, here's this picture of what you're supposed to look like. Here's this picture of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to have a job, you're supposed to know all this shit when you're 18. Are you fucking kidding? Like, and I know some people are ready at 18. I was not. I know plenty of people that were not ready at 18.
Say it again. Say it for the ones in the back. Let them
I'm
know.
like,
Yo,
it's just,
it's so young. We literally get thrown to the wolves, but it's also preyed on. It is
Mhm.
preyed on. The military preys on your naiveness when they're trying to recruit you. You know, like, I don't know, like, and it's all smoke and mirrors. Like, literally, if you think that McDonald's is gonna be a cakewalk, you got the world fucked up.
yeah.
And you don't understand the full way of the way it operates until you are literally in the cycle. Yo, I spent my whole life like avoiding a record deal. Don't
Oh, yeah.
don't ask me about a fucking record deal. And you know, there's all these people that are perceived as tough who got screwed over
Yeah.
with these record deals. Like, I feel like getting screwed over is a part of the process. You
Yeah.
have to. You don't graduate until you sign that horrible first contract.
If I could relate music to the cannabis industry, I think that would be a
It's
pretty
everywhere.
good, I
Yeah.
think it's a pretty good way to do it, because I was a part of a podcast before, and we really focused on speaking to local um, music artists, you know, rappers, groups, people that just wrote music, did like beats and shit, you know, and you hear from everybody how much of a struggle there is between everyone. People that you think would be rooting for each other are not. And you find that in probably every industry, but like, it feels like music and cannabis are both trying to be better and keep going, you know what I mean? And it's like, let's work together a little bit. But at the same time, I understand like people getting frustrated because they've worked hard as fuck on something and then are like, oh, so you're just doing this. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's industries are hard. Being in any type of, you know, trying to grow and
Maneuver it. Well, it's because you got to prove yourself.
mm-hmm.
Who was I to think that I would get whatever I wanted without proving myself?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I guess I did prove myself in other ways. And honestly, the system of these kind of things needs to be broken down because it's completely anti the way the world is supposed to work. And there's
Right.
way too many politics behind anything. Like, no, I should be able to go into something knowing my worth.
Yeah. And
Why?
we're not taught how to do that. We're not taught to learn how to properly love ourselves and know our worth. That's
And
how I feel it is with any like cycle of life that I've been through so far. It's like, well, what the fuck? You know?
it's all the same, like, thing, the same, like, and it's because the same tricks work.
Yeah.
Of course, like now, because advertising was ran so terribly for so long for things, now what do we get? They done developed interactive
Make your
advertising,
own commercials.
like, and yeah, yep, and they want to use you as the ad. Even on Hulu, they let you pick the fucking commercial that you want to see.
Yep.
You know, but
You get 3 options. Which one do you want to see?
but they also though, like, it's tough because escapism is so important to people.
Yeah.
And so people love very petty shit, like being made fun of, like watching people get made fun of,
Yeah.
watching people get hurt, getting joked on, watching people fail.
Can you watch people get hurt? Can you watch those videos where it's like
No.
people, they fucking hurt me, man. I can't watch them.
Even fights at school, when everybody was clamoring to the fight,
Yeah.
I was always the one retreating.
Here, I'll see you later. Yeah, I can't watch those videos, man. Like, I'm not at all. It like cringes me every time I see him. Like, oh, I broke my own arm. You know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah, I literally feel it. I think that goes back to the empath thing
Yeah.
that we were talking about.
Uh,
But like, and then like to sell stuff, you gotta create this facade that you're not a human being. You've
mhm.
never made a mistake. But and like it's weird because we believe it, but we were fed it and ate it. And so like while I can be like, yo, I'm only giving people what they pay for, like I'm sorry, like at
Yeah.
the same time, it seems pretty on purpose that they wanted us to have such fickle mind frames
Yeah.
and
That's
such
true.
scared mind frames.
Yeah. Because I feel that I'd openly talk about that. Like with the shit that's going on right now, I'm a mom of 2 kids that have asthma. And so every single thing says that they're high risk, right? So I worry about my kids. I worry about having them around people. I have a dad that is like extremely high risk. His doctors won't even let him leave the house, so it's
Wow.
like, and it's sucky because who am I to say what is wrong or right? Because I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know. I'm not a doctor. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard for me when people tell me like, "Oh, you're just scared." Well, no shit, I'm scared. Like, there's no, there's nothing to be like, "Hey, it's okay."
Well, and I think a point that a lot of people miss in life is that fear is always involved. And there is a such thing as positive fear. Because like I can be so scared of losing that I always fucking set myself up to win. I'm very,
Right?
you know,
Fear can push you.
and you can be so scared of losing though that you never take that leap.
True.
It's all about what you do with whatever you're given, and like I don't know, like how do we fight all of that to find truth, like with so much bullshit all around us? Well, and actually let's get into your upbringing. How did you find truth? Where were you from initially?
So I'm born and raised Tucson, Arizona, and so I've been here forever. I've had my kids here, but I, you know, my my parents were really upfront and honest with me about everything, like um smoking weed and shit. Like that was never something that I had to worry about, but at the same time was also taught like it could totally get you in trouble. You know what I mean? So I was brought up being like, we don't talk about that. You don't talk about who smokes. Because a lot of people in my family and growing up all smoke weed, you
And
know?
that's the craziest thing about it. 10 niggas in a room who all smoke will act like they don't at that
Exactly.
family get together, and that's supposed to be the people we're close. Yo, the world is so ass backwards. It
Right.
is. It,
Well,
it's
it's funny though, because like my dad used to be like, I bet one day you'll be able to you'll be able to go to the store and buy weed, and now it's like, sure as fuck, you can go get some CBD at Circle K. I can walk up to the dispensary, no problem. Like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? So, but I definitely being around everybody and like knowing how, I don't know, to me for a long time it was like, well, I'm not going, and I didn't. The first time I smoked was in this house when I was like, I'm not for sure on the date. I'm like, I always try to think of how old I was and I can't remember for sure. I was probably like 9, 9 or 10 maybe.
What?
Yeah, I was really young the first time I tried. And I know it was young like that because it was before my cousin. And this is my dad's house. But before my dad, it was my aunt's house. So I know that, it was when she lived here that we were decided to smoke. And the first time I smoked, I didn't enjoy it at all. I was really fucking young. I look back now and like realize how bad it was for me because I remember sitting there and being like laughing my ass off, dude. which should be a good thing, right? But in my head, I was like, why are you laughing? Nothing is funny. Why are you laughing? And so for me, it was very much like a fight with myself of what the fuck is going on. So, and then on top of that, my cousin, she was, I'm going to tell mom. I'm going to tell my mom. I don't like how I feel and all this. And then I'm sitting there having to deal with like laughing and telling this girl, please don't tell anyone. Like, we will get in trouble. What are you doing? And it was just like, So I didn't even start smoking again until I was 20.
Wow.
And like I was saying, all
Wait,
through
so okay, so you smoked when you were 9? Because that was gonna be my next question.
yeah.
Was when like did you smoke consistently after your first time?
Not at all, dude. I was so like, nah, I don't like how that is or anything. And the only reason I even started smoking again is because I used to hang out with a bunch of people that smoked. Like, it wasn't peer pressure or anything. It was just eventually I was like, well, shit, you have a really good time after you smoke. Why was my time so crappy? Like, you know what I mean? And so I definitely wasn't originally using because I have anxiety and I have all this other shit. Like, I was definitely just thinking, oh, cool, let's get high. Like, and then I started learning about all the medical benefits because it passed in Arizona, uh, 2012, I want to say, here. So, you know what I mean? That means a shitload of my life, it was just illegal here. And so, even like I told you, to be completely honest, a lot of my family smoked weed. I did not tell any of my family that I smoked weed when I started. I
But
definitely,
20 is late as
I
fuck,
know,
though. I'm still not over that detail.
that's
Well,
so
you
funny.
started early as fuck and then restarted late as fuck.
Yeah, because I
Um,
was like, nah, smoking is not for me. And then at 20, I was like, it definitely is. But yeah,
and,
I didn't
and
tell
so
my
you
parents.
and you were gonna mention something about high school.
Well, in high school, like I said, everybody thought I was a stoner. I don't know. I used to wear like jeans and like band t-shirts. I'm super into music. I love music. That I was comfortable. That's how it was. So all through high school, I got a job when I was 16. And like everybody used to ask me, you smoke weed? You want to smoke with me? And I'm like, nah, I don't smoke weed. Like, I'll hang out with you. I'll sit there while you smoke weed. But you know what I mean? And that like takes us back to that whole stigma thing because I feel like I was automatically assumed to smoke weed and shit because I used to rep rock bands and shit. And they were like, oh, this is a this is a stoner chick, you know? So I don't know, like you said, I was called into becoming a stoner. Ooh, you know, early on, people being like, "Hey, do you know how I can get weed?" And I'm
They
like,
were
"No."
trying. It was like God sending the boat. And
I
you
know,
were like, help, but I don't need a boat.
I know. Yeah, no, and I don't even know like what finally clicked for me to start smoking for sure. I was just like, let's see if it's different than my last time. And you know, by then I was like fully ready to smoke, so I got like the munchies and used to go through all the different levels of being high and how they made you feel, way different than smoking for years and having like a different tolerance. So,
And when did you start getting into the education part about weed?
really, that would have been like when my kid was in kindergarten because I dealt with the state as far as like cannabis use in my kids. That's what drove me to getting a medical card too. It's super important. I, you know, tell everybody if you're in a state that has the option to get a card and you have kids and you smoke weed, go and get a card because then you have a reason to be using it and they can't be like, oh, you're not allowed this because that's basically what I fell short on. You know what I mean? At the time, my husband had a card, but I did not have a card. So the fact that I didn't have a card allowed them to like pursue more against me. And then I got a card and it was like closed case. Like, you know, so it's that's when I really started learning everything about what it does medically, got my card, figured out what you know, the different reasons that I actually use it, how it made me feel, differences between like indica and sativa strains and why I feel better when I smoke sativas compared to like how some people might not be able to handle that and shit. So I just really honed in on what it is that, you know, what's the fuss? What is everybody talking about other than this is a habit that I, you know, this is something I do socially, or just realize like, oh, I smoke weed every morning because it really does chill out my anxiety. And I'm not stressing and shit like I usually would be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was really my main reason. Understanding too, like trying to find other moms that smoke and how they talk to their kids about cannabis. That was like something that I really wanted to connect, especially starting the podcast. That was like the first thing that I would look for is like the hashtag Canamon on Instagram. See what I could find. See how much they're actually putting out there as far as, you know, bringing parenting into cannabis. What is available, and there's not a lot. There's only a few people that really talk about using cannabis.
Well, because it's so taboo that
Yeah.
even if somebody wanted to get into that, yeah, I'm just sitting here like, oh man, she's wild as fuck. But like, you're like a rogue agent. So
it's like important to know, you know what I mean?
no, it really is because well, and there's so much to chop it up about. Let's have because I want to talk about when you get your cannabis license, how you have to choose between your gun license and your FOID card and that, and even the lack of like research done on marijuana, and the extremely blurred line between indicas and sativas.
Yeah.
Right now in this world. So we're gonna get into all of that. I think we're gonna have a quick little break. And then we'll get into all that. Is that
Sounds
okay
good.
with you? For
I'm
sure.
totally down. I'm smoking my weed, I'm chilling, we're good.
Hey, let's get it. I've been dealing with my own shit. I've been dealing with my own shit. Deeper than the ocean, how am I supposed to focus on what you got going? With all that I'm holding, might have to let a bag go. Not a money bag though. I need more cash flow. No, I'm not an asshole. I'm just speaking facts, so if you don't like it, you can fast forward. Keep going, motherfuck the opposition. Let's all go out and get it. No more hiding all our feelings. I'ma put it where you see it, cause I know you really need it. Got a family, gotta feed them and my nieces. Jesus, did you hear me? Did you see this? Why are you so hard to believe in? What's the meaning? What's the purpose? Are we even? Scratching the surface. It make me nervous to make a purchase. Tell me, am I getting what I'm deserving? We'll figure it out when we get to heaven. If it ain't a blessing, it's a lesson. So with no question, I must be strong. I must be strong. I must be strong. For you strong. I must be strong. I must be strong. I must be strong. Hey, hey. Strong. I must be strong. I must be strong. For you, for you. But I've been dealing with my own shit. I've been dealing with my own shit. Deeper than the ocean, how am I supposed to focus on what you got going? With all that I'm holding, might have to let a bag go. Not a money bag though. I need more cash flow. No, I'm not an asshole. I'm just speaking facts, ho. If you don't like it, you can fast forward. Keep going. If you don't like it, you can fast forward. Keep going. Hey, hey. Why? Cause I must be strong. I must be strong. I must be strong. I must be strong. For you strong. Hey, I must be
Thank you very much. Nap House Studios.
Yo, and shout out Nap House Studio. They're about to drop a Black Lives Matter EP, and I'm gonna be on the EP, and all the benefits will be going to the Bloomington Normal Black Lives Matter. But um, so are you on your laptop or phone?
I am on the laptop. I have both. So.
I was texting your phone, and I tried to call you on the break.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, it's all down.
It's on silent. Oh,
My bad.
I was
I
trying.
got your text though.
Okay, yeah, and I just tagged you in it on
Cool.
Facebook.
Good.
So
Yeah, I'll definitely share. No problem.
yeah, so now, how do you feel though about like them making you choose between your guns or trees? Like, what can be done to stop that? Like, and how does shit like that even pass?
You know, I mean, it passes because we want to smoke weed. So that's why people are going to vote for it, because medical necessity probably outweighs the amount of people that need to hold guns. Not saying that's like always the case, but in a lot of, the conversations that I hold with people, like even for myself personally, I don't want one. You know what I mean? So it was easy for me to not have to worry about that.
Right.
But then you have people that,
And I'm not worried about it either. I don't own
yeah.
a gun. Like, maybe I shouldn't say that. But I'm well protected, y'all. No, but like the idea of it bothers me way
Right.
more. Because I know that shit means a lot to a lot of people, and it means a lot to a lot of people for protection.
Yeah. I'm not a gun person. Like, I mean, it's cool if you have guns and shit, and I'm not gonna talk shit to people who have guns. But like, I definitely used to have a rule when I was younger, when I had parties, that you could not bring guns in. Like, I don't want to be in a stupid situation where someone
You
gets mad.
literally had a
Like,
rule, huh?
you know what I mean? Yeah, and it's just because people have attitudes. A lot of those same people, especially out here, that used to carry guns when I was younger growing up, were the same people that I'm like, I don't want to start any crap, or I don't need to see you shoot someone, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it doesn't affect me as much as other people. I know a lot of people definitely want to be able to have their gun and, have protection or whatever, but I'll grab a knife. I don't know. Like,
It's just the idea of it, and even thinking of it in the role of systematic racism and stuff like that. That's where it seems really fucked up to me. I don't know. It's a mixed bag for me on guns.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard because when you talk to people too, you either have it seems like people are either for or against them. There's not a whole lot of
In
middle.
between.
Yeah, you know what I mean? A lot
Yeah.
of the people that don't care, don't want guns, or if we're totally honest, can get a gun anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, but once again, systematic racism forced into illegal means to, you know, have
There's
to.
a
Well, and not even, it's like judgmental of like a group when
yeah.
it comes down to that kind of thing. Like, oh, you're gonna get stoned and just start shooting your guns. Like, it's kind of fucking weird a little bit, right?
True. Not saying that always happens. Like, obviously, right? There's so many peaceful stoners, like, that would never
Oh,
hurt a fly.
there's
Like,
yeah, for sure. I don't know. I guess I hate rules and
yeah.
authority when it comes down to that.
Don't we all?
It
Especially,
seems. Go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, especially with like a lot of people realizing what exactly has been going on and is going on in the world, and like it's just crazy how you can always you learn something new all the time. I keep watching documentaries that are like fucking blowing my mind. That I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
wow, I have no idea. You know what I mean? And it's like it's a great time that we live in, honestly. Like a lot of people really hate this year. I kind of really hate this year. Also, so I feel them on that. But like it's for me, it's not because of the fact that people are opening their eyes to like what's going on. I'm all this year's just been like a hard one for me personally.
For
But
sure.
like when it comes to the amount of people that seem to be finally taking like the time to learn and realize shit, like I was one of those people too. I try to I try to really be honest and open about that. Like I definitely didn't understand a lot of stuff when I was younger. And having children especially like made me want to understand things from a different perspective and really know what others are going through and, what it is that maybe I don't realize or whatever. So,
Get
and I
in.
like that. I like that we have the opportunity to be constantly learning new things, like if you're open to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, and so speaking of learning new things, with you getting into weed at the age of 20, I'm sure your activism and
Uh,
things like that was long before that.
yeah, well, because I never really understood why people had such issues with people that smoked weed, especially like knowing and being around people that were getting stoned and like could still go and fucking play with me at the park and whatever I needed when I was younger in those situations. And growing up and having like dare come to school where the cops are telling us how bad it is if you have marijuana, and just knowing like even as a child sitting there and being like, wait, why? You know what I mean? Like when it comes to some other shit, like I easily as a kid was like,
Well, even and I meant activism deeper than just with weed.
oh yeah.
In general, growing up, did you get involved in anything like that at a younger age before 20? Because it seems like your first move was like making, well, not even your first move, like you made podcasts, you've done all that kind of stuff, and even it's almost like an activist podcast.
How funny. I never really kind of looked at it like that. I don't know. So I think like my senior year is really probably when I started like decided that this is what I want to do. Or um I I'm a to be like completely honest. So I in high school I took a what was it that we used to have to take? I think you had to take like American history or something. One of those was required, but what I did was I took it from the Chicano perspective. So it wasn't American history written from Americans. It was American history, a whole thing put together from an entirely different view. Um,
How'd you go? So, and they agreed to that. You were able to get a
yeah, we
um.
had we had a class. We had a class. I went in. We had a 0 hour. It was only offered during 0 hour. There was only enough people for one class, but we had it, and it was like it was really cool to be able to do that because it was the first instance that I started seeing things from like how different it was. We learned shit in such a different perspective than the people in the other class were learning. So I really was I was really interested in that and went back. I think that was junior year and went back senior year and we did this thing called Link Crew. And basically like as a senior, I got a whole group of freshmen along with one other person. I think we had like 50 people. And the idea was we were doing everything for them that we could do their freshman year to set them up to graduate, to make sure that they started off their first year great. Because the problem that in high school is a lot of people go in freshman year and have a fucking shitty year and then they don't ever catch back up. They're the people that drop out of high school. And that's That's like statistically they found that proven when, you know, when we were going. And so the whole idea was, what can we do for these kids to make them succeed? And I think that's really like the first thing that I threw myself in that was going to help other people and not totally give something back to me and some, you know what I mean? So we did really good. We threw freshman only assemblies. We did a lot of things for freshmen that nobody did before, because in high school, it's cool to be a senior. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like my first step of seeing how to be to people or how I could help people, because that freshman class 95% of them graduated. It was the highest graduating class that school had in like 20 years.
Wow, yo.
You
And
know,
and
so
and and see, like, and that's something that I've been thinking about critically, because like anybody could basically do what you did, but most don't.
yeah,
And usually the school system will agree to a lot of things. Like that, if you talk to them and go about the right avenues of doing it and within
right.
reason. And just like what you said, it makes the world a lot better place for everybody.
Right.
When, like, what if there was 40 cool groups like that? You know what I'm saying? Or 100 even. When you
Yeah.
think about there being 1,000 students and representing all kinds of different things. I mean, and even outside of school, in the community, you know, I'm thinking three-dimensionally, because a lot of times we notice a problem and then do nothing about it because we don't know where to start.
You know what? So here's something funny. A lot of people walk past trash when they're outside. A lot of people do that. And like, I have to give props to my husband, because my kids don't do that. My kids, no matter where we are, dude, will stop, pick up trash and throw it away. Like at the store, anything. Any chance they get to throw it away. And it's like, and that's something they've been doing since they were little kids, by like a suggestion maybe twice. You know what I mean? And we can impact people so much just by being
The
like,
littlest
hey,
things, yeah.
exactly.
Well, because then kindness and cleanliness is a regular thing to
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
So now, with you've been really strong, I see, about the Black Lives Matter stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's because, like I said, like, okay, so let me put myself out there full out in front. I have a bunch of Black friends, and like years ago did not understand at all what anybody, when it came to Black Lives Matter. There's like a post on my Facebook, and the lady says, we said Black Lives Matter. We didn't say all lives, or what did she say? We didn't say all lives don't matter. We just need help with Black Lives Matter or something. And now, being where I am now, I was like, fuck, that's what I needed. Like back then, I needed somebody to tell me that exactly, to like get it. Because I'm married to a Black man. My kid is mixed, you know, and it, my kid is she's very light skinned, super light skinned. And we'll sit there and tell you all about like what's going on, because she's very much so like, my dad is Black, like, you know, I want to do this. So it's important for me, for people to kind of go through that same process if they have to, of like, I don't totally understand this, to see and learn, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that are just shut down to it, you know what I mean? And it's like, I've had friends and family that I'm like, you cannot tell me all lives matter if you're going to sit here and get mad when someone says Black Lives Matter, because that's part of all lives, right? You know what I mean? And like, something as simple as shit like that pisses people off. I'm like, and it's just like, I don't know. I think it's important for me. I grew up with all different kinds of people. I grew up with straight kids, gay kids, black and white kids. Like, you know what I mean? For me, I feel like people our age should not even be having a discussion about this because there shouldn't be, I just don't get it. It's hard for me to understand. It's hard for me to be like, how are you still that way? You know, or so, and
I
it was important for me for the podcast to speak out about that right away because I completely, that's like one of the things that I really believe in. We've talked about it in some of the episodes that I have, you know, that I've aired, and just my friends and like the shit that they've lived through and the experiences I've had, like going out with my husband. Me and my husband split up for a while, and so I really got to see the difference of like how people treated me when I was with him compared to like someone else.
right, yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's unfair for someone to say no, that's not happening, because I don't walk in your shoes. Like, it's the same as if somebody's telling me like, no, Kendra, that's not what's making you upset. And I'm like, bitch,
people
that
still
is.
try to do that shit all the time. It's so crazy when they do.
Yeah. So I just I'm very passionate about that. I love fucking all people, and there's no reason for me to sit here and be an asshole about a situation, or even like to be uneducated about it. There's so many, like I said, you can watch 13th. Is it, I think it's 13th. It's available on Netflix. You can look on YouTube or whatever. It tells you a shitload about like every single thing that is so buried that we don't see because it's not brought out to the media to us to be like, oh wow, or we see it in a different light. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's a lot of shit that we have to open our eyes to and be like, well, fuck, maybe I've been thinking wrong. And I think a lot of people don't realize it's totally okay to be like, oh, I understand. That's changed my perspective. That's changed my opinion. A lot of people don't want to, and probably even myself, like I have a problem with that sometimes, admitting to like when you're wrong and wanting to talk about it. You
let's
know,
talk about how yeah, thinking about it, I've never had anybody come up to me and say, let's talk about how wrong I am.
right? Never. Nobody wants to.
Let's start it. Let's start that trend. Next time I'm wrong, don't be surprised if I'm like, let's talk about how wrong I am. I mean, it's such a complicated thing because we think of ourselves as like, no, I understand when I'm wrong, but like
Right.
we never actually get to figure out the depths of
And then
right and wrong.
a lot of people need to hear that you're wrong, or they need that like validation. I think me too. I feel like I need that. Like, I want someone to be like, yeah, dude, I totally get it now.
Yeah,
You know,
I
because then I
fucked
feel
up.
like it kicks
Yeah.
in. Exactly. And so,
That's such
yeah,
a hard thing to say though for people. I don't like it, people love, and it's crazy because we don't think deeply about it, but people love mask and like all that kind of stuff, magic and illusion, and
yeah,
so, and like not saying how they feel.
I agree with that. People are not forthcoming about things because they're afraid of how other people will perceive it and react. And that loops into why I wanted to do the podcast, why I talk to people specifically, like, when you want to come on the show, what's a hard topic that we can talk about? What's something you've been through in your life that's hard that we can talk about, like that you don't mind talking about, that we can be like, someone out there listening is going to be like, fuck, that has happened to me. You know
Well,
what I mean?
so many people have great stories, and it's tough. You learn a lot about talking with people when you have to have guests and stuff like that, and like catering to what they care about, and like being a selfless host.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
I did
Sometimes
not.
you got to let them take the reins a little bit, right?
Oh,
Let them
yeah,
talk if they need to.
yeah. And people will use your platform to say some crazy ass shit. I'll be like, what the fuck? And I
Y'all
like,
just
yo,
like,
yeah.
okay.
It's funny because I watched a clip of Charlemagne, and this guy is so fucking pissed off at Charlemagne during the interview, and he's like wagging his hand, shaking it, and Charlemagne's like,
I
okay.
know he's just so chill, dude, with everyone. Sometimes he looks mad as fuck, but he's
I
still
could
just
see the
sitting there.
fear in his eye, but no.
Yeah.
But
uh,
so I'm like, yeah, sometimes you gotta let people get it out of their system.
yeah.
I mean, and it really opens your mind talking to a lot of different people and letting them talk about what they care about, and also just like the power of giving
Yeah.
people a
And like how you
voice.
asked about how I grew up, like everybody grows up so differently, and like you don't realize that because you all go to school together and like shit seems fine for 6 hours or whatever that you're chilling, and you have really no idea of that person outside of school. And I think the same things happens when you get older, or when you get older, because then it's like I go to work and I know this person in work, but I don't really know them outside of work and like how they are. You know what I mean? There, of course, are going to be people that you become friends with and you go and party with or whatever, but it's never everyone at work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's so interesting. I love talk, and that was something else for me, like being able to talk through stuff without having to, whether it's my stuff or somebody else's stuff, like talking through it relieves so much of like my anxiety and the shit like that just
Exactly.
naturally, like it like I have an issue. I've like obsession with like thoughts, right? That's how it was described to me. So I'll think about something and it plays over and over and over and over, but I can have a conversation with you about something
It
in a
will
similar.
literally take it out of my mind.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then I don't even, it's not an issue. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
smoke some weed, talk about it, and it's like, oh wow, okay, I feel a lot better. Like,
And
so
even if they don't say anything I agree with necessarily, like,
exactly,
yo,
you know,
I love hearing your feelings. It lets me know that you gave a fuck.
right?
And that's all.
Exactly.
Y'all probably think I'm soft as hell. Well, fuck y'all! No, who is y'all?
I
No.
saw somebody commented on something that I posted recently, and it was something about like uh talked about like intimacy over sex. Um and somebody's response was, I'm a man, but I want this. And it's like, it's terrible to me that you have to be like, I mean, I'm a dude, but I want this too. Like, and that's one of those things that I feel, you know, society is doing to people too. It's bullshit. You shouldn't have to tell me that you feel bad for being like soft because you're a dude, like at all, you know?
Well,
So,
even for me, like, um, well, and it's sad because as a man, it's almost like pleasing the woman makes you soft
right?
if you get off to making a girl happy. But like, no, I'm so funny because even when I like look up porn and stuff like that, I'll type in categories and figure out that they don't really exist, and it'll be like um guy taking off or like girl taking like like unwrapping her kind of shit. It's like, no, there's
They're
none
like,
of
no.
that. I'm like, I want to take my time. I want to get to know the girl first. Like, where is that at?
Oh,
And
it's
like,
funny.
I realize it's almost like pansexuality kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that, there's so much out there. So I talked about earlier how I did a podcast before Kendra After Dark. We talked about sex. That's what the podcast was about.
Are you
I
serious?
used to have we used to have people on and would talk about like the first time they had sex, how many people they had sex, like just
Oh
shit like
hell
that people
no.
don't totally talk about either. You know what I mean? So I guess that's another way that that I was like, hey. And I really enjoyed that because it was cool listening to people describe sex so differently.
Yo,
Every single person.
Well, and I actually realized something. It's important to talk about sex. It's something that needs to be talked about. Let's talk about sex, baby.
Right.
And it's because you get to have better sex and you understand what you like and what you don't like when you talk about sex, and you understand what was going on during sex better. You understand your feelings. People try to run from their sex feelings.
Yeah.
As soon as sex is over, we are trained to not even think about it.
Yep. And then, we're kind of programmed to think that talking about sex is not okay. In a lot of TV shows and shit growing up, I always remember the parents being like, them talking about like not wanting to have the birds and bees conversation with their kids.
Oh,
And like,
my mom just didn't have it.
really? Yeah.
Straight up, just
See, well,
wasn't gonna happen.
and that's the thing, right? So, it's crazy to me that our parents that were probably fucking when they were like young as fuck too, depending, are so against talking about sex and things like that. Like the stigma, like I said, there's stigmas about everything because
Yo,
that too. Because
I
it's like,
I
how,
literally had to develop my own idea of dating entirely.
yeah, that's crazy, right?
Wholly, entirely. And that, I think, is most of us.
Yeah,
That's not just me. We just don't think about it in that context.
people don't. You don't realize like how much I was talking about earlier, influencing your children, like just from what you're doing. Uh, we're never really told how to be in a relationship. We just have, if your parents were in a relationship, you have them to look at. Any type of, you know, any type of couples that you grew up around, those are essentially your influences. And then TV, which is horrible because
Ugh.
the movies are horrible. Like you either have this like princess fairy tale shit, so then a bunch of girls want this princess fairy tale shit, or you have a bunch of shows that like show people being hoes and it being fine. You know what I mean? So there's like
Right.
there's no between really.
Well, because when you're trying to sell something, there's no biases allowed.
Hmm. That's true.
How fucked up is that, though?
Right? They're like, no, let's not talk about that, man.
Literally, there's no biases allowed.
It's
Well, okay, what's a bad thing about weed? Let's not be biased
smoking it.
about weed.
Smoke hurts your lungs. Smoking anything is bad for you. So there's nobody that can come on and be like, it's totally healthy to smoke that blunt. Like at all. What they can say is smoking that blunt may totally help your anxiety, but you also need to remember that you are smoking something. Like,
Wait, yeah, we definitely need to get into some. Let's get into weed facts. Drop some
oh
knowledge.
gosh.
Give me 6 random weed facts that there's typically misconceptions about. Hold on. Oh, I just
Oh,
dropped
dropping
the
stuff.
weed. I dropped the weed, but so I need 6 weed facts.
Did you drop weed on the ground?
Yes.
Oh God. Shit, I don't know. So
I dropped the weed, y'all.
one of them you kind of brought up earlier, like the differences between indica and sativa. Uh, I think a lot of people are lost on the true indicas and the true sativas and how much is actually hybrid now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
basically, you know what I mean? Because of like the growth process. And and I don't think a lot of people know that personally, just like from because I'm just learning that. And like I think people feel like it's super easy to grow weed, and I'm watching all these different people grow, and like the different outcomes and shit is amazing. It's like, you know,
Oh, I bet. Okay, when you say you've watched a lot of people grow, can you give me a range?
range of people, like how many?
Yeah,
A
like
lot is not a lot to me is not that many, I bet. But like I know I've seen two different Tucson grows. I've seen a
and
hemp
you're
grow,
talking huge grows though.
right?
Okay.
Huge. But then I really want to see ones in Phoenix. They have like some really good looking grows up in Phoenix. But living in Tucson, it's kind of hard to go up there. But I get to see a lot of like videos and shit, luckily. Like being it it's really cool being a part of the community because everybody has been really welcoming to like podcast hosts and you know the fact that you test and review their product or whatever. And I've made a lot of friends with other.
Well, because that's a slippery slope for them.
Yeah, definitely, because it could hurt you, right? I mean, depending on what it is, or you take the plus from it and you're like, well shit, this is something that I can work on, right, to make it better. So but
Right.
it's cool
Because you're
because
normalizing it at the same time.
I feel like we're lucky because of social media because there's a lot of opportunity to be able to see the behind the shit, like behind the scenes stuff. What they're the babies, you know, what they grow into when they're drying, shit like that. It's
Because
really
people love stunting on the weed.
hell yeah,
They'll be like, I got some baby plants. They'll literally take you through the whole process.
right? Another one is that you can totally be allergic to weed. Uh I didn't think that you could be allergic to weed. You can. It's so funny because like I've talked about it a few times on my show. Like my grandma used to be like, nah, I'm not smoking with you. It makes me feel sick. Like it really makes me feel bad. And I'm like, it's a plant. You're not allergic to that. Like, and there's something called cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome. And I know two people personally that have it that used to be like big time stoners and now can't smoke weed or, you know, can't eat
Because
edibles.
their paranoia gets bad, correct?
No, it makes them deathly sick, like nonstop vomiting. And these
Whoa,
particular,
whoa. Say that again?
it's like nonstop vomiting,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
No, what's it called?
it's called what is it? It's called CHS, cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome. There's there's a girl named Alice Moon. If you look her up, she has CHS. She's a huge advocate out of California, and she was like a big time um, reviewer. She used to make and review edibles, shit like that. You know, was even on one of the what is that show? There's a show on Hulu where they cook with weed. I can't think of what it's called.
Ooh, I actually watched it. Cooking with Cannabis, I think.
That's it. That's what it is. That what it's called?
I think so. Let me get on my Netflix app.
It
But go
no,
on,
it's Hulu. The one on
oh, because Netflix has a good one too, though, that they just
dude.
put out. And
I interviewed a bunch of chefs from that actually. Um, my whole last set of interviews, I would say like 8 or 9 of them is you know, Chef Nate Santana. He was the winner of one of the episodes. I talked to Chef Amanda Jackson. She was awesome. You know, a bunch of different chefs from Cooked with Cannabis and just talked about like,
cooked with
you know,
cannabis.
yeah, talked about like how it is cooking with cannabis and shit. But Alice Moon is on the one that was on Netflix. And I think it's close in name. I can't remember it for sure. But you know, they all went and got to eat
I'm
cannabis and
so
shit.
silly because I definitely already knew that. To be
Yeah.
sitting here talking to you about it like you might have not. Anyway,
No, it's so funny though, but that's what she used to do. And then, you know, can't even like she can't even be in a room with a bunch of smoke because it'll trigger her CHF. I
wow.
I know somebody that it's only triggered by edibles. You know what I mean? So it's very important, I think, for people to realize like how shitty that is, especially for people that are using it as medicine. and then could just hit like a time period where, oh shit, now this makes me sick. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it could be the first time you're smoking, it could be fucking 300 times in, then all of a sudden it's really bad. And for those people, like, they use Haldol to like help them get out of the, the episode or whatever that has been triggered. So it's crazy. Like, that's not something I would have thought was possible with cannabis, and learning about it is just like, oh wow, super, super interesting. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can think of any other truths for sure. I got what, 3 there?
Yeah.
Well, halfway. Uh, Sativa is supposed to be like a something that is an upper. It causes a lot of anxiety for people, and I've learned that talking with a bunch of different cannabis users. Like, they can smoke sativa and have like a hell of an anxiety attack. You know what I mean? So they stick with indicas. And a lot of people who smoke cannabis like don't realize that is something that could happen, and it could be the opposite for you too. So you have to kind of pay attention to the different strains that you're smoking and how you're feeling. I think
Yeah.
that
I would surely just be like, that wasn't you know what I'm saying? Whatever it made me feel the opposite of, I'd been like,
right.
no way, bro.
Yep.
That's
It's
fun.
crazy. Definitely. I don't know. I'm
What
still learning. I like am
What's
trying
your
so
favorite strain?
there's a strain called Moby Dick that I got to try a couple times that is fire. Fire. And it hasn't been out here in Tucson for like the past 2 or 3 years. But the first few times it was here, it's like, it's the only time I've ever gotten like super stoned off of like a pre-roll. You know what I mean? Like a halfway through want to put it down. And like that doesn't happen to me very often. I can smoke a lot also. But Moby Dick definitely was a favorite. I have there's a new brand that started growing out here called G4. I like really like their flower so far. That's what I've been smoking with you among some really pretty purple.
Oh,
So I like that. I stick with sativas a lot. Like, the pens that I carry usually are sativas, and just because I'm like I want to stay up and go person,
what
and like
what's
when
what's your,
I'm ready for bed.
what's your preference between dab? Oh wait, go on with what you're saying.
Oh, I
What?
was saying I like to smoke indica like before bed, like when I'm really ready to feel like that entire pass out high, or when I have nothing to do for the day. I like to smoke indica in the middle of the day.
So you keep multiple strands,
Yeah, usually I'll try. I don't know. I take that back. I mean, it depends. Like, if I go and get one big strain, uh let's say I get a quarter of one strain, then obviously I'm probably just going to smoke that all day or whatever. But because I like to try so many different ones, I usually buy like a gram or an eighth. You know what I mean? So I have the option to try different ones.
I see, I see. A true connoisseur.
Well, I try. And then I am lucky enough to have a sponsor for this year. But all last year, like everything that I get, with the exception of if I'm able to get donations from the company, it's all out of pocket for me. You know what I mean? So it's like what I would actually be spending, I'm going to tell you what I actually feel about it, because I am really spending on it. So I
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it.
Wait, so sometimes you'll lie about
No,
some
no, no. No, no, no. I was saying that because I because I am buying the stuff, it's easy for me to give like I give honest reviews anyway, but it's easier for me to be like totally truthful, like, hey, this is a $14 gram. Is it worth it to you? You know what I mean? Because I have to think about if I can manage this shit into my budget, being a parent and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just another way for me to really relate to other people who are also just trying to get meds that are going to work, and want to know, like, should I spend the extra on? It's cool to get donations, and I love it when companies are willing to donate products, because it like makes it that much easier. And then you have the availability to really be like, okay, this is what I thought. You know what I mean? But I've gotten positive feedback. Like, even if I didn't like your product, there are definitely there are brands that are like, hey, thank you for letting us know. Like, we really needed to know that. And, you know, that this is something that we can work on or whatever. So I like that. Whether I get it donated or not, I have to think about like me as a regular person. Am I going to pay for that when I go to the store if it's donated? Like, you know what I mean? You have to be real about that shit. It can't just be like, oh, this is fire no matter what. So
Right. So now music, because I definitely don't want to skip over music.
I like music a lot.
Yeah. Uh, Damn, we've already been going an hour 21, and I got a whole other episode tonight I'm doing too.
Nice.
Uh,
Well,
uh,
we can always, I have to have you on my show. We'll have to do conversation on Kendra After Dark too,
hey, let's get it. It'll be fun for sure.
for sure. But I
Um,
like all different kinds of music. I don't. I'm one of those like true, pretty much everything. I like it.
even people be like, except country. Where the fuck did that come from, bro?
I don't know, but for a long time I didn't get the country thing, and then as I got older, I was like, damn, this country song is awesome. Like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I Country music is super relatable. It's a bunch of shit. Some of it. I mean, I guess not all of it, but it's like,
It,
dang, I went through that too.
well, all music is relatable. That's why I get upset when they try to like leave it out the equation.
Right? Exactly. I like the fact that you can play some songs and they can totally change your mood. And like, you know, I I used to be young, when I was younger, I did jujitsu, and there was a song, and it's gonna be terrible 'cause I don't know the name, but it used to, I think it's called "You Gotta Be Bad." And let me look and see if I can find who it is. But I used to do jujitsu, and I kid you not, before every match that I used to do, I used to listen to that song, and it used to get me like so pumped up.
Before you do jujitsu, before you do jujitsu,
Yes, it is. It's called "You Gotta Be," and it's by Desiree. Desiree. You'll have to look that one up. It's an old song from when I was a kid.
I'm trying to see. Are any of your Because I want to play a clip or something from your podcast, so people can see it. Um, is there any video clip, or is it all just audio clips?
Most of them are audio clips because that's basically what I do. If you go back to some of my earlier Instagram posts, I used to do like little previews. Those are probably the best.
Yeah, I see some. Even if it's just audio, I mean, I can still play it. Is there one that you'd prefer?
Oh, I don't care really. I'll sit here and cringe hearing myself.
Oh my gosh, you're funny. So, do you watch your podcast or listen back to it afterwards?
Yeah, because I do everything for the podcast. So I edit the show. And I don't, to be fair, I don't edit a whole lot out, right? Like I get rid of background noise, and if there's long pauses or crazy amount of coughing or something, like I may get rid of some of that. But for the most part, I just put up what we have. But I always have to listen to it, like to make sure that everything recorded or that there's not like, you know, some crazy shit in there. But that's basically it. So I kind of got over that, having to edit and listen to my voice. But I would hate to constantly like have to watch myself over and over, I feel. I'd be like, oh God, should have wore something different. you know?
You think you'd be too critical out of
Oh
yourself?
yeah. I'm hella critical of myself. So I'm positive I would do that.
And see, I kind of am. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because I definitely be like, and even this episode, I already know that there's moments where, like, I've liked how I've worn my hat, and then I hate how I've worn it.
You're like, no.
'Cause
That's so funny.
it'll flip on me. It's not fair. I'm trying to. Well, let's talk about the breakup diaries.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
I actually, watched one of them. Yes, well, listen, yesterday.
Oh yeah, that was like one of my. So she was the first person I had on my show, I believe, that I didn't personally know. So it was really cool because she was. I learned about her book from a hotel here in town, Hotel McCoy, which I've actually had them on the on an episode too. But she was a local writer, and I was like, "Hey, man, let's talk about this." And it was really cool because I bought the book, I read it. You know what I mean? It was really cool to be able to meet someone who was able to put all their thoughts on paper because I'm super critical and I write shit down and I'm like, let's not read that ever again.
Oh man.
you know.
Well,
So,
thank you for getting out your comfort zone to do my show, and
oh yeah,
trusting that you're in good hands. So
I appreciate that. It's no problem.
yeah, thank you for coming on. Well, so I'm trying to think. Uh is there any like moment in an episode you'd want me to like fast forward to real quick off the top of your head?
No, I honestly cannot think of anything. Let's see. I think I have. I don't know how to play if I play it here. I'm all because I think I have.
See if you can share your screen.
Oh, let's
Oh,
see.
you're not on. Oh, yeah, you are on your laptop too.
Can I share the screen? Oh, I can. Let's see what I can do here real quick. 1 second. Oh, I think it'll make me log in and everything. And I'm not logged into anything.
Oh,
But
is it?
let me see real quick. 1 second.
You can also send it to me.
Can you hear it? Last minute person that I am, I like got it together, made it a PDF, looked at different fonts, made some illustrations to go in there, proofread it like 18 times, sent it to my cousin, sent it to my brother, like all these things that you could tell like how hurt you were. Yes. In the moment, like you definitely really loved that girl. Yeah, so I really wanted a partner. I thought it was going to be a boyfriend. And I just started working on myself. I did like a life coaching group, started meditating, started dancing more. This was back in New York City, and just kind of put that intention, like I'm going to meet a like-minded equal partner and experience like someone that I really love. And I met her and I wasn't expecting it to be her. I was just so like heartbroken that I just didn't want to write a song. I didn't want to pick up my guitar.
Had to write a whole book about it, huh? That's
right?
fucked up. For real?
That was one of the best conversations I would say that I've had on the podcast, because that book is so raw and so real. And like, even as she was writing it, like it was a surprise to me that the person she was writing about was a girl. And like being able to talk to her and have her be like, I didn't expect to fall in love with a girl, and I met her and I did. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could feel that reading her book. So it was just awesome to be able to get her to come on the show, and you know what I mean? And that was one of the people that I could highlight and be like, you don't even have to smoke weed to be able to relate to people or relate to my podcast, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, and that's even like, yeah, no, not everybody has to smoke. There's been episodes where I don't even smoke.
right.
I'm
Definitely.
probably gonna be so faded this one. But tonight, y'all, we're gonna be having the music review. We're gonna be going over everything new that came out this week, and talk some shit. And of course, Danny will be on that episode. But Yeah, we always do a music review on Fridays and
Awesome.
go over what came out. This week was kind of slow,
Yeah,
but
I watch, so I listen to a lot of Spotify, and I like that they give you the little new music Friday list. That's what I usually listen to shit. That's how I find my new music. I'll listen to that, see if I like it.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on to here. Thank you for
Thank
giving me. You were a great conversation. You always know that, like, in an hour in, I was like, no, there's still so much.
No, that's cool. Thank you so much. I like really appreciate you bringing me on. I think what you're doing is cool. I watched a few different episodes and conversations that you had with people, and I think it's a good platform, and you're bringing a lot of uh, different perspectives and thoughts and minds to the show, and I think that's great.
You have to, and I mean, and I always get so much more than I could bargain for.
Right.
So,
Definitely.
thank
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate you having me, definitely.
Hey, let's get it. So,
Mhm.
and yeah. Hey, what you think of my videos that I played? No, I'm joking.
I like them. I really did. I really like that second song too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so good stuff.
I got my next one coming out any day now, any month now. And
Oh,
it's
nice.
called Daz Exotic. It's my profile picture on Facebook. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious. I love that. Well, it's great.
All right. Well, all right. Thank you. And well, yo, let's set up the date.
Yeah, for sure. We'll figure something out. I'll message you and figure out when you're free, and definitely would love
Ooh.
to have you on the show.
When the album comes out, around when the album comes out, that would be dope.
I'm good for it. Definitely.
All right, for sure. Well, have a good night. Oh no, yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's a good.
almost. It's gonna be night. We're good.
Oh shit! Out here, it's 8 o'clock. So, cause I'm in Atlanta.
Yep.
I'm
I know.
in. Hey, oh yeah. Okay, for sure.
Eight
All right.
o'clock. You're lucky as hell. It's gonna be 5 here, right? And I'm sitting outside, and it is fucking. It says 106. So
What?
yeah.
Oh
Crazy.
my gosh. Yeah. Arizona don't play.
Definitely.
Well,
Well, thank you again. You have a good night. Enjoy reviewing your music for sure.
I'm gonna be tired.
I appreciate it though. Thank you.
For sure. All right, y'all. Let me get out of here. Hey. Wait. I'll run one last.
Hey, yeah. I ain't gon' let up, apply the pressure, make it diamond. Now I'm a nigga shining. Ayy, we been grinding for 20 seasons, yeah, for one reason, to make the policy clear. And I'm in and out the bank, bitch. That's why I'm young, black, and dangerous. Money hanging out the anus, flying down the highway. Look at how I lane trips was making ill noise, then became an A to alien. Look at how I shape shift, Papa transforming, now I'm changing. Getting my car candy painted. Rather be rich than famous, so dang it. I ain't gon' live up. I ain't gon' live up. I ain't gon' live up. No, never. I ain't gon' live up. I ain't gon' live up. I ain't gon' live up. No, never. A go-getter, no hoe nigga. I care, yeah, if it makes my life chiller. Yeah, gorilla, going ape in my babes. on a paper chase like motherfuck the Jake. All my niggas in the hallway all day, selling all things just to be flossy. Diamonds flawless, worked for all this, took no pauses. My chick is gorgeous, keys bossy. I'm so saucy, you should take a dip or a sip of this lemonade and mind your own biz. This is infinite, get with it or we getting rid of it. Cause I ain't gon' let up, I ain't gon' let up, I ain't gon' let up, no, never.